Alright, so I'm going to show how to replace the screen on this iPhone 8. So first what you're going to want to do is remove all the screws from the bottom. For this you're going to need a Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver. You also need a Y000 and a PH or JIS 00. Alright, so first we're going to use the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screwdriver and remove the two screws from the bottom. Just like this. It'll also help to have a heat source to kind of warm up the thing, so that way we can remove the adhesive for the fingerprint sensor and the home buttons, or the fingerprint sensor and the camera sensors at the top. Alright, keep the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. I just put them out on my desk in the layout that I remove them. Alright, so we removed those two screws. After you do that, you'll want to use a thin pry tool. This is the easiest way to do this. As you can see, this screen is completely messed up. Normally I would shut it down completely, power it off completely, but I can't do that because the touch is completely dead. So again, what we're going to do is get the thin pry tool. We're going to get underneath between the plastic frame of the glass screen and the aluminum housing or metal housing, whatever it's made of. Alright, so you want to just go slightly underneath, and then when you get to the sides you can actually feel the metal bracket. Just slide the tool all the way along the side, just like that. If you want, you can kind of twist it slightly to kind of help lift it up, but you don't really need to do that. Alright, so we'll go again along this side, same thing, just slightly. You don't want to insert the tool too far, and then when you hit the side, you'll feel the metal bracket that prevents you from inserting the tool too far. And then you can actually go along and cut the adhesive there as well. Alright, once you do that, you want to be very careful because there is the LCD and connectors here, the LCD and touchscreen connectors. So once you lift the screen up, you'll see there's the cable there. What you're going to want to do is pull this screen downwards. Alright, depending on if the screen has been changed before, if the adhesive is bad. Usually there's going to be a strong adhesive up here. You're going to have to use the tool and cut along up there as well as you're kind of like pulling this down. Alright, so once you get that released, you can actually fold the screen open just like this. Alright, you don't want to open it too far because then you can damage the cable up here. These cables aren't too important, but you don't want to damage them while the phone is still on, or you can cause permanent damage inside. Alright, so now we're going to switch to the PH or JIS 00 screwdriver. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to remove all the screws from here. Okay. Alright, so we'll get this one out. Alright, again, keep the screws in order because they are different size, shapes, and lengths. You don't want to get them mixed up. Alright, we're going to remove the 4 screws from here. This padding that I'm working on is like packing stuff, and it's actually not a good surface to work on because it's like smushy. It makes it hard to work on this. You kind of want to work on a solid surface, but something that won't build up too much static. I have my leg actually touching the metal part of my desk to help prevent too much static buildup. Right, anyways, so we got this metal plate here. After we remove all 4 screws, you should be able to lift this metal plate up. Just get underneath it and lift it. Oop, that's kind of weird. It pulled up the connector with it. Sometimes to prevent that, you can kind of like twist the not the connector, the metal plate while it's on top. But this completely lifted out that connector. Alright, so normally you wouldn't have that happen, but you'd want to disconnect the battery connector here. That's this center one. Alright, so I just used my fingernail. You can use a plastic pry tool. And then after you disconnect the battery connector, you want to press and hold the power button on this side here. And do that for about 10 to 15 seconds. That will drain any powers to prevent damage to the main board. Alright. Okay, once you do that, normally this metal plate will come out separately. It shouldn't be stuck to this piece like it is right now. That's kind of strange. But if you can, try and separate those two. Okay, there we go, just like that, and then set that metal plate aside. All right, once you do that, you can also pop up this connector, same thing, using a plastic pry tool or your fingernail. Just get underneath the connector there and then just pop it up. All right, just like that. And then you want to be careful because there's this cable up here, and this also is using PH or JS 00 screws. I'm not sure, it looks like one screw is actually missing from up here. Normally there's 3 screws. But for some reason on here there's only 2. I have a feeling it looks like actually the screen was replaced before. So maybe the previous person that worked on it lost that screw. I'm going to hold this metal bracket down because it's spinning around. You don't want it to spin around and damage something. Okay, so remove those 2 screws. Then we're going to take this metal plate. Again, there's normally 1 screw up here as well, so keep that in mind. Yours should have 3 screws. Alright, then we're going to disconnect this cable. It's a little bit tricky because there's not much room, but same thing, using a plastic pry tool or your fingernail. Just get underneath that connector and pop it up just like that. Once you get all those connectors out, the screen will come out just like this. Okay. So I don't know if it's supposed to have Phillips PH or JIS screws because sometimes there are these tri-wing, but you should know just from looking at it. Okay, so we're gonna now remove the fingerprint sensor. Because this screen looks like it was already replaced before, I'm probably not gonna need the heat for this, but we'll find out. All right, anyways, to remove the fingerprint sensor or the home button, keep your finger underneath the home button so that way when you remove this screw it doesn't push the home button through the screen. Okay, and then remove the screw from the back of the home button. All right, after you remove that screw, you can go ahead and remove the other 3. All right, just like this. Again, keep all the screws in order. It's very important because some are different lengths, some are different sizes. You don't want to put the wrong screw in the wrong spot. All right. And depending on your replacement screen, if it comes with the metal shield backing here, you might have to replace that as well. But the replacement screens I have already have that as part of the replacement. So if you do need to remove that, there are these T3 or Y000 screws, sorry, on the side here that you will have to remove and transfer over to the new screen. So just check your screen if it has the metal plate or not. All right, then we're going to remove the screws up here for the earpiece speaker, as well as the camera and the other sensors. This looks like you're going to use the PH 00 or JAS 00 screwdriver. All right, so remove those. Okay, no. The screws don't seem to want to come out with the magnetic piece, so I'm going to have to try and pull it up by hand. There we go. Alright, so remove all of these 5 screws here. Again, keep them in order. Just like that. Alright, this one's getting stuck in as well. There we go. Alright, then take this metal bracket off. You want to be careful because the camera sensor is right there. Alright, lift up the camera sensor slightly and be careful not to touch the lens on the other side, and then we can take out this speaker. Be careful, the speaker has magnets in it. So if you put it too close, you might actually end up getting the screws stuck to it, and then you'll get them all mixed up. So just be careful with that. All right. So now what I'm going to do, I have a needle. I probably should have mentioned that earlier, that a needle will be useful with this repair. Let me plug in my heater just to warm up the thing. You can use any kind of heat source. You can use a hair dryer if you want. Just something to heat it up to make it easier to pull apart. Alright, so now what we're going to do, we're going to disconnect the home button here. So to do that, it's actually sandwiched here. So I use one fingernail to pull it forward, and then another one to go on the other side of that foam, and then I can use that to pull them apart, as you can see. So now the connector is there, and then we got this piece here. Alright, so I'm going to see if the adhesive is loose here. So since it was taken apart before, usually you'll have to heat it up. So I'm moving this connector out of the way, and then we're gonna try and get underneath the thing here. Looks like it's still holding strong, the adhesive. So I'm gonna use the heater. So I have this portable heater here. I'm just gonna rest the screen on it. All right, it's gonna be off camera because the foam is a little bit too smushy, and if I put the heater on there, it's probably just gonna fall over and knock over the things I'm working on. But we're just gonna warm up the adhesive on the screen here, so that way the part here will peel off. We're gonna have to use the heater twice, once for the home button and then again for the sensors up here. Alright. And you don't want to heat it too much, just enough that it's really warm. You can kind of try and test peeling it up every so often just to see if it will budge or not. If it doesn't budge, then just heat it a bit more. Right now it's still really tough to pull up. Let me actually see if I can balance this here so you can kind of see. There we go. Alright, it's getting warm. Let's see if we can peel it up. Okay, so here you go. I don't know if you can see, but now I got the needle underneath. And then I have this bend in the needle that makes it a little bit easier. I can slide the needle under without risking poking that piece. Alright, so let me move that out of the way. Alright, so now that we got the adhesive of this piece peeled up, we can lift it up, and then we can actually push this through. Be gentle with it. You don't want to risk damaging the cable. So there we go. We got the home button out. We're going to set that aside. Now we're going to heat up the top here to remove the sensors over there. Okay, same thing. Just let it heat up. Okay. So once you heat that up, what you want to do, we're going to lift these two sensors out. Okay, I use the needle, same thing. Just pull that up. All right, that came out pretty easily. Again, be careful for the camera lens. And then you can take the needle as well and go underneath these speaker touch contact points. All right, and then just slide the needle underneath just like this. And you want to be careful with this, okay? And then it looks like it's mostly peeling up. Usually it's a bit more difficult, but because this screen was replaced before, it looks like most of it is peeling up pretty easily. So here you can see, once you get underneath there, you can kind of peel this whole thing up, and you can get that out. Okay, so here we go. We got the whole sensors and everything out. Okay, set that aside. So we're done with this old broken screen. We can actually toss this or send it to e-waste. All right, we're gonna get the replacement screen. All right, so the replacement screen looks like this. All right. Put the old screen in there so I don't risk getting broken shards of glass everywhere. All right, so the broken screen looks like this. Oh, this piece came out. So normally it has this piece up there as well. So this has the adhesive for the microphone as well as the little earpiece mesh. So make sure that's up there, not falling out all over the place. Okay, so this is supposed to stay in that gap there. All right, looks good. All right, if yours has this rubber piece here, just take that out and throw it away. Okay, so first thing what we're gonna do is put the home button in this spot here. So peel off the protective coating a little bit. All right, and then we're gonna take this home button and just thread the connector through. All right, make sure to get the other connector that's underneath already. You have to lift this piece up here. Okay, let's see here, just like this. and then make sure that piece ends up on top of the other connector. Then you'll see there's this little hole in that piece there. So you want to line that up with the little dimple that's in the plastic. Okay. And then after you do that, just check the home button, make sure it's flush, rub your finger over it, make sure that it's not like sticking up like unevenly. After you confirm that's good, you can put the protective plastic back over it. And then we're gonna connect this. So usually to connect this, I have to shove this connector slightly over that way if it doesn't go in properly. So usually I have to push that like that and then get that on top and then just connect that. You can check if it's connected right by lifting it, and if both pieces go up, then you should be good. All right, so there we go. All right, and just like before, first we're gonna put in the outer screws this time for the home button. Okay, so just get that in like that. All right, and we are going to use the Y000 screwdriver for this. Okay, get the screw, get the outer one. Usually I'll put these screws loosely at first, just so I can move it around if I need to. All right, get that screw in, and get the last third screw in. Okay, just like that, and then you can tighten them down. Okay, you want to be careful not to put too much screen pressure on the back of the screen, because you can damage it. All right, and once you got those 3 outer screws in place, again, you want to put pressure on the back of the home button with your finger here. Okay, so that way when you go to screw this in, you don't risk pushing the home button through the screen. There we go, so we got that. Also, this part a lot of times can move around weird, so you want to make sure when you close the screen that it goes in this little gap here. If it doesn't go in that gap, it can actually cause pressure on the back of the screen and it can damage it easier. So yeah, all right, I'll show you what I mean if it happens. So now we're going to put in the camera sensors here. I'm going to switch back to the PH00 or JIS00. All right, so the easiest way to line this up is you line up the 2 little holes in this 4-pin connector thing. Sorry. All right, so just line that up. Drop that in place, just like this. All right, make sure all the rest of this is kind of seated properly. And then these 2 sensors you gotta line up. It's a little bit tricky to get the one on the right sometimes, but you kind of just have to move it around until you get it to drop in right. It actually went in pretty easily this time. Sometimes it's kind of a pain. All right, so now we're gonna get the speaker here and we're gonna just put that in place. Just like that. It should line up with that little speaker grill that we put in earlier. So you should actually feel it go into there. If it doesn't, you might have to keep moving it around until it goes in properly. Okay, it's being kind of weird. Let's see here. It's going to be difficult with this foam, but let me see what I can do. Okay, get that camera in place. Sorry, I'm going off screen, but there we go. Okay, everything's in place. Get the metal bracket, put that on top. All right, make sure to hold it down. Okay, now we're going to get the screws. Put that screw in here. Actually need to transfer one more screw over, unless whoever changed the screen before didn't do that. Okay, so normally there's one screw holding that bracket, the earpiece bracket in place. Let me see. Okay, so here's an example of they mix the screws around. They put a Y000 or Y000 screw there that shouldn't be there. So depending on what your screws are, just check that. Let's see here. Yeah, they put a Y000 screw. But let me see if this will actually go into the other one. It looks like this screw actually doesn't even come up. And that's another problem with putting the wrong screws in the wrong holes, is these screws end up not coming out. So as you can see, that screw doesn't want to come out. I mean, it's unscrewed already completely, it seems like it. Oh, so I don't know where that screw went now. But yeah. So I don't know where they got that screw from. They must have, it's probably like one of those where they work on a whole bunch of phones and then they just get random screws. So I'm gonna get another phone screw and then put that there. We'll see. Or it might be better if I just don't put one. Oh, actually, here, I got the screw. It fell. Let's see if I can catch it. Okay. So I got that screw. But this isn't the right screw for it. I'll see if it tightens in place. If it does, I'll just use it. But I guess it kind of works, so I don't know. I want to make sure to test it because if it falls out, that's going to be dangerous in the phone. Okay, it seems to stay in place, so we'll leave that there. Alright, and then we're going to get the 3 screws down here. So when I work on these, it's very important you get the same screws and put them back in the same spot. Whoever worked on this before, they didn't do that, and that's why you end up with those kind of issues with the wrong screws. So keep in mind, it's very important. Sometimes you can put a screw that's too long and it can actually damage the screen. So you want to be very careful with that. Alright, so there we go. We got all the screws in. Now we're going to attach the screen back in place. So it's a little bit tricky with this one because the way the cable bends, you kind of have to hold the screen in like moving it around to try and get it in the right spot. So just do it however you can to get the connector to line up straight with that below. And when you get it lined up, you'll know, because when it's in the right spot, if you're trying to move it around on top, it'll actually stay in place. So let's see here, I might have to rotate this a little bit. Come on. Right, so it seems like it's in right, so there we go. Let me move this foam because this is making it harder. Hopefully you'll still be able to see, because now the brightness is going to be weird, but hopefully it's still visible. So there we go. All right, now we're going to get these 2 connectors in. It's a little bit tricky trying to get these lined up. Make sure you have the connector lined up properly before you press it down, because you don't want to accidentally smash it down too hard and then damage the connectors on the screen or the board. There we go. And last one before the battery connector. Come on. Can be a little bit tricky. Come on, go in place. Okay. That should be in somewhat right. There we go. Alright, make sure everything is pushed down completely, and then connect the battery connector. Alright, just like that. Now we can test it before we put back the metal brackets. Just press and hold the power button. Should see the Apple logo. There we go. And it should be good. You want to test the home button, test the speaker, test, like, make a phone call. Cover this when you have a phone call on the top. Your screen should turn off, and then check the front facing camera. And that's pretty much all there is. We're going to put back the little brackets now. So I like to test these. Oh, he must have had the home button broken or something, because he put this digital home button here. So I guess they had the home button replaced before. I feel it like vibrating, so it's not completely dead. But okay, so I guess it still works. So I don't know why they added that that home button, but usually people do that when they break the physical home button. All right, anyways, let's put this bracket back on top. let's see here. Does it go that way or this way? I don't know if they flipped this around or not. Okay, no, that's right. So these little thingies, metal pads, go up that direction. All right, so we're gonna get the screws here and put them back. If the screws don't match what I say, it's because somebody worked on this before and mixed them up. So if you're working on your phone and the screws are different, just take a look and then make sure you use the right screwdriver. Uh-oh, that screw fell somewhere. I'm gonna have to look for that. So let's put this bracket first. Okay. Let's make this a little bit tricky. There we go. All right, just like this. Right, and then just tighten up all the screws. Oops, sorry, it's going out of view. All right, give me a little bit. I'm gonna go look for that screw. I'm gonna pause this and I'll be back. All right, I'm back. I got the little screw. Okay. All right, so let's tighten that one in. Just like that. All right, so like I was saying, you want to make sure that this metal piece here lines up here, because when you push the screen down, you don't want it to get on these raised areas that can damage the phone screen. All right, so the way you check that is you line this up. So to put back the screen, same thing, you kind of lift this side up slightly, okay, at an angle like this. And then you slide the top in. You start slightly lower like this, and then you slide that up. Okay, once you get that slid up, let's peel this off so it's not in the way. It might not work because of all the dents in their screen. Let's see. All right, so once you get that lined up and you have that holding in, you want to actually push the bottom side down first. Okay, get that lined up just like this, and then you work your way up the center. Okay, and you want to check here. Here you can see, like, if I push on it, it's kind of making, oops, you can see it's kind of making some light marks. So that means that that metal piece is slightly pushing. Oh, why is their home button? Geez, their phone is really messed up. Their lock button is kind of getting stuck in there. So let's see here. I'm gonna have to pry that up. Jeez. I have to see if I can fix that because their home button is screwed up. All right, anyways, let's pull this back out and then see where it's hitting. Okay, so I can use my fingernails to do this, but there we go. All right, so look underneath. I'm gonna pull out this old adhesive stuff that's kind of getting all in the way. Let's see here. Whoever worked on this, there's like random loose broken stuff in here. Okay. Again, you want to check, make sure that's lined up. So it looks like this piece is kind of needs to go slightly up more. So sometimes you have to use a tool to push it up while you push the screen in. So let's see if I can do it. Okay, right now the home button fixed itself again. That's kind of weird. All right, so we're gonna push this back down. Again, you want to look in there and see. Again, sometimes you have to use something to push it. I use like this, and then I can kind of push that metal piece up while I'm kind of closing the screen. All right, and then we'll see. Oh, this top part popped up, so let's see if it will stay that way. Okay, it's better now. And make sure these clips go in. There we go. And here you can see now when I push it, it doesn't turn all rainbowy. Alright, so that's pretty much it. I don't know why when I have that in though, then this button gets stuck. So something is weird with this. I'm gonna have to figure that out. But that's pretty much it. Make sure to put back the Pentalobe 0.8 or P2 screws. And that's all there is to it. So hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, please like and subscribe. Help others find my videos. And thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.